Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. We're going to take a look at geocaching and figure out, is it a hobby, a sport, or something else? You can help me decide. There's my mouse at. There we go. What is it in a nutshell? It's considered a high-tech, real-world treasure hunt. Another thing it's been called is what happens when you tell geeks to go outside and play. We also like to say it's what happens when you want to use billion-dollar military satellites to go out and find Tupperware in the woods. I'm going to tell you a bit about how I found geocaching. I like to hike, and I like taking my technology along when I was hiking. This is a stage photo. I wasn't really online up in the mountains like this, but I wanted to make it look like I was, so I was having fun. But you see that arrow there pointing over to those pieces of wood and sticks on the side there? Those are going to become important because this was a hike I did in July of 2004. A year later, in June of 2004, I had inherited an eTrex GPS hiking device. And I wasn't completely sure how to use it, but I knew enough how to put coordinates into it. And I wanted to hike back up that same spot I'd been before, called the Scar. Right now, you're not even supposed to hike up it. It's reserved for just the sheep and regrowing the grasses that live up there. But I took some printouts with me because that was the only way I knew to bring along the information I needed. And I hiked up and I tried to find the geocache that was there. And I went and I looked and I tried to get the numbers to match up because I couldn't even figure out how do you make that arrow appear that you see on the screen right now? I hadn't figured that part out. I couldn't get the numbers to line up. I said, okay, this is not working for me. I almost splooted going down some boulders. And I came back up and I hiked all the way to the top of the scar. And on my way back down, I got the numbers to line up. And there in this pile of sticks, right there, 30 feet away from where I had been the year before, was my first geocache find. I was hooked. I went out the next weekend with my kids and we found 5 in the neighborhood. So how do you play geocaching? Well, unlike when I first started, you don't need printouts or a Palm Pilot or trying to get your Nokia phone to give you just a little bit of web information and a separate GPS device. No, your cell phone can do it all now. And there's multiple apps. Geocaching.com's got the built-in app that's free. There's other ones out there that are available, but you can use whichever you want. And you can look on the map and see where are the geocaches. There are a bunch that are right there and right not far from the East Library in Colorado Springs. You get to look around and see what's around. Once you get to a geocache you want to find, you say navigate to that location. You might drive a distance, then walk up and it'll tell you, okay, it's 40 feet away, it's 30 feet away, it's 25 feet away, it's 20 feet away, it's 15 feet away, it's 20 feet away, it's 25 feet away, it's 15, 25, 15, 10. Okay, so it jumps around a little as you get pretty close. Sometimes you get numbers that are really close. But once you're about 20 feet away, you're going to have to use your smarts and your eyes to look. And some of them are real easy because you'll see a nice pile of rocks or a nice pile of tree branches that makes it obvious. But sometimes it's really challenging. And that's when it's a great time to bring along somebody like my wife, Deb, who can spot those small ones really quickly. She's a natural at it. Once you find the container, you're going to sign the logbook and make sure you go back and sign it online afterwards. Now, caches, the hides, range in different sizes. Most of the caches are physical caches, and they may be as an ammo can or even bigger, or they may be smaller containers. You'll see there's one there that looks almost like the tip of a pencil. That's a little magnetic one that could be stuck up in a street sign or under a bus stop or under a park bench. You'll never know where you might find them, but they are small, tiny, with the tiny little wrapped up paper inside. just big enough for you to maybe write initials instead of your whole name. But that's good enough to count for being able to sign the geocache. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology involved. How does it work? Well, we've got these things called GPS satellites, because technically when you're using your phone or in your car, that's not a GPS, that's a GPS receiver. Because what happens is the GPS satellites, they each have atomic clocks. So they know exactly what time it is, and they know exactly where they are in their orbits. And what they do is they send out a signal, and then our devices listen for those different devices. And depending on how many satellites they can hear, if they hear 3, they only have a flat idea of where they are. If they have 4 or more, they have a great idea of not only where you are on the map flat-wise, but also your altitude. And when you've got more than 4, it does really well at being able to figure out, okay, there's some errors going on here, let's correct those. And they even added some extra satellites in this that help the error correction, because they'll send a signal back down to Schriever Air Force Base and send it back up to the satellites and say, well, right now the atmosphere is showing a slight deviation here. Add that into the corrections. So they'll do a tiny bit better than they used to with those extra satellites. But even with all that, GPS isn't perfect. Not only can you get that little bit of bounce as you get close to the geocache, it gets a whole lot worse if you're under heavy trees or in urban canyons or physical canyons. Certainly, lots of rocks around can make the signal bounce around. Anybody who remembers adjusting rabbit ear antennas and watching a second image on your television knows about signal bounce. And severe weather conditions can also affect it. And I found Sunday afternoons sometimes make them bounce a little bit too. I suspect that's when Schriever Air Force Base does some backups and that slows the satellites down just a tiny bit. When you get to the geocache, there are items inside. There's swag, that's the prizes you can take, but only if you put back something of equal or greater value. It's the honor system, but we count on you to do that so that the caches continue to have value when the next person comes to see it. And then, of course, there's the logbook, because that's how you write that you've been there. Sometimes you can write a little bit of a story there as well as what you write online. But it's the proof of your visit, shows that you're there. There's no question when you've signed the physical paper. And you may find something in there called a trackable, a travel bug, or a geocoin. These are items that are owned by the people who purchased them, but have sent them out into the world for other geocachers to move along from geocache to geocache. And there are things called events. They show up as geocache hides, but instead of being just a coordinate that you can go to anytime, there's a coordinate with a specific date and time range of when everybody is supposed to get together. And you can get RSVP that you're going to show up, and then people get together. Here's one that we had in Greenland Open Space in Colorado for a Geocaching Colorado event. Another type of event is CETO, Cache In, Trash Out. It's an initiative that geocachers will put on where we get geocachers to get together and help clean up an area. Sometimes we'll even do weeding to help out different areas. We've done that to help out Cheyenne Mountain State Park. There's an option for premium membership because you can do geocaching absolutely for free, but people who pay for the membership can mark their caches as premium only, which means unless you pay, you will not see their geocaches on your map. You'll not be able to find them. Therefore, if you pay for it, you get not only that feature, but you get additional search filters, instant notifications when a new cache is published. You can go out and see if you can be the first one to find that geocache. You get extra tools like pocket queries, which allows you to download a whole bunch at once, although the apps make that so it's not as important as it used to be. Adventure Lab integration. These are a bunch of virtual points that you can visit that count as finds on geocaching and are really interesting. And you can earn and award favorite points for geocaches. So let people know which of those geocaches you found really stand out. And when people like your geocaches, you can say, hey, look at my geocache. It's gotten a lot of favorite points. Therefore, it can be an obsession for some. I know I used to be super obsessed with it, so much so that I went from being a complete introvert you could not drag to a social event to suddenly find myself in front of a room that I had organized to have people together as an event. And then I started running for offices in geocaching Colorado. I missed a bunch of things when I was trying to do it until I learned Toastmasters had a lot of the experience I needed. Once I had that, we came back and did even better in geocaching. But with geocaching, some people treat it as a hobby, some people treat it as a sport. But I want to know, what do you think? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Deb, what do you think? Is it a hobby? Is it a sport? Or what?
I think it can be both because you're doing a hobby at the same time you might be hiking. So to me, that's kind of a sport. So you can do them together or just one, and we don't always have to go on a hike to find them.
Yep, absolutely. That's the way I used to love doing all my geocaches, was primarily hiking. Now most of the ones we do are not hiking, but are what we drive up to or do short walks for. But I still love the idea of going hiking for them. I hope to get some more in the future. I finally am back to doing enough steps so that I'll be in better shape for that. That is my approach for giving you a little idea of what geocaching is about so you understand it better. And if you ever want to know more about it, just let me know. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Keith.